In this video, I'll share another interesting topic in Laravel, the topic of concurrency in Laravel. So let's jump straight into the video. So if you go to the topic of concurrency in the Laravel documentation, the 12.x documentation, so as you can see, the concurrency has some topics like introduction, running concurrent tasks, deferring concurrent tasks, etc. So what is a concurrency? So if I go to the introduction and read the the first paragraph, it says sometimes you may need to execute slow tasks which do not depend on one another. So multiple tasks that do not depend on one another, you may need to execute those multiple slow tasks. So in many cases, significant performance improvements can be realized by executing the tasks concurrently. So we can run the tasks concurrently and improve the performance those by running those slow tasks concurrently. So Laravel's concurrency facade provides a simple, convenient API for executing closures concurrently. So Laravel concurrency facade can execute closures concurrently. So this is the brief overview of concurrency. So as you can see, it shows how it works, and you can run concurrency tasks. You can run the concurrent tasks like this. So we'll show in the demo how you can run the concurrent tasks. So let's jump into the implementation. So I have set up a new Laravel project here to save some time. So if I just open the new project, it's named concurrency tests. So if I just open the project with tray, so as you can see, this is the project. Open the terminal and trust the folders. Okay, so now as you can see, this is the new project. Okay, so as you can see, if I go to the web.php file, this is the main routes file. So this is the project. So what we will do here is, first we'll create a user, then a post, and then we'll test by running multiple queries inside a concurrency run method. Okay, so first we'll create a user. So as you can see, this is a new project, so obviously there is no user here. So if I go to the database and go to SQLite, as you can see, there are no users here, it's blank. So if I open the Tinker session and just create a new user, so I'll use web models user. So I'll create a new user. Okay, very quickly. So I'll give the name as what? I'll give the name my name, and then I'll give the email as my email. Then I will give the password as, let's just use the, or you can use the hash illuminate support facades hash, and make the, or hash the password 123.56. So this is how we can create a new user. Okay, so the new user is created, and we'll also create a post in the subsequent part. Now we'll create a post or a new post record. So before creating a post, we have to create the migrations file. So I have already did the migration with the foreign key user ID and the title and content of the post. So we have created the post. So if I now open the Tinker session, so I can create a post. So this is the post table, as you can see. So if I use the post, if I use app models post and create a new post, let's say the new post would be post. If I just give a new post like the name or the name, the title of the post is, let's say, test title, and the content is test content, and the user ID is the newly created user's ID, which is 1. Okay, so this is the so you have to create the mass assignable property. So if I go to posts and use protected guarded equals ID, that's it. So if I just exit and try it again, and try the new post again. So now the new post is created. So as you can see, this is the new post that has been created. Now we'll write the concurrency functionality. So I'll write it straight in the web.php. So if I just create a new route, let's say route, if I create just a new route, let's say it's concurrency test, something like this, and give a function which is something, I'll give a functionality for this. So before doing that, I can just use the route and the facade of concurrency. So I use the concurrency facade. Okay, so now what I can do here is I can just go to the documentation and just use this piece of code, which is the concurrency run method. So as you can see, I can run this should be, let's say it takes two queries here within the sub process of the concurrency run method. So as you can see, there is user count and another should be, let's say, post count. So one counts the number of users in the database table, users, and one counts the number of posts in the database table, posts. So this should be posts. Okay, so now one function takes the count of users, another function takes the count of posts. So there are multiple tasks as sub processes within this concurrency run method. So this should return something like let's say return user count and post count. Okay, so let's say this is the user count and post count returned. So as you can see, this is the concurrency test functionality that we have written, and we will test it. Now we'll run a without concurrency test route. So as you can see, we have written a route for concurrency test where the queries are run as sub processes or subtasks inside a concurrency run method. Sorry, this is the concurrency test. If I go here, so this is the concurrency test. Okay, so now we'll run a without concurrency test. So in order to do that, we can do here is make a route get, and it will be without concurrency test, and it will be a function where I write the function. The function should be this table or the user count. User count is the query using the db table or the db facade. So as you can see, I also did the post count, and this will return the user count and post count. So these queries, as you can see in the concurrency test, in the concurrency test route, we have run these queries as sub processes inside the concurrency run method. So as sub processes or as tasks within concurrency run method, and multiple tasks are run here, more than one. So in the without concurrency test, we run these queries separately without the concurrency run method. So we'll test the query speeds when the queries are run within the concurrency run method and when the queries are run separately. So if I run this route in the server, as you can see, the without concurrency, this is the same result, as you can see. So now we'll use telescope to test whether this process is faster or this process without concurrency is faster. So as you can see, I have already written the two routes. So I'll test the speeds, the query speeds inside the queries that are written here and here. So I'll test the speed of queries when the queries are run within concurrency run method and without the concurrency run method. So what I'll do here, first I have already installed the Laravel telescope, which is used for testing query speeds and other speeds. So as you can see, you can easily install Laravel telescope, so by requiring this package and migrate and using the telescope install command and migrating the database table. So as you can see, if I go to just localhost and the telescope route, as you can see, this will be the This is the base of the telescope. As you can see, there are request, command, schedule, job, etc. queries here. So it's clean now without data. So I have this concurrency test route here. So when I make a request here, I get request here, the request will be populated. So as you can see, there are no requests here. So first what I will do here is I'll run the without concurrency test. Okay, so I'll run the without concurrency test and check the speeds. So if I run the without concurrency test, let's run this. So there is a get request, reload, page reload done. So as you can see, there is without concurrency test run, and it took around 21 milliseconds. What I want to check here is if I go to queries, as you can see, there are some queries generated. Before that, there was complete blank. Okay, so as you can see, these are the two queries that were run. So these are the two SQL queries. As you can see, these were the two queries that were run. So if I go to this query, let's say this query took 0.10 millisecond. Okay, the users, and the post took 0.04 milliseconds. So if I go here, as you can see, the location is given web.php 19, the connection is SQLite. Okay, so this users query is done, and if I go to the post, it took around 0.10 millisecond. The query for fetching the count of users and the query for fetching the count of posts took 0.04 milliseconds, and it took it has a SQLite connection, and this is the query that has been done, and this took 0.04 milliseconds. Okay, so this is the without the concurrency test. Okay, so this is without concurrency test. Now I want to test the with concurrency test. So if I run this query and this request, so as you can see, if I go to request, now there is with concurrency test, and it took 448 milliseconds. So if I go to the queries, and as you can see, these queries were run. So if I go to the queries, if I go to the users, this query, so if I go to this query took this, as you can see, the location shows the Laravel serializable closure. So it took 0.05 milliseconds to run the query inside the concurrency run method. Okay, and if I go back to the posts, as you can see, the posts took as you can see, the post also has location as Laravel serializable closure. So this is the query that has been run inside the concurrency. So it took 0.22 milliseconds. Now let's compare the two tests. Okay, so if I compare these two tests, so the users with users, so this was direct query, and it took 0.10 milliseconds. Okay, and this was the serializable closure. Within the serializable closure, within the concurrency, it took 0.05 milliseconds. So it was double speed. The query speed was double. Okay, so as you can see in the post, let's say this post took 0.04 milliseconds without the concurrency, and with the concurrency it took 0.22 milliseconds. Okay, so this is how you can test the concurrency speed, concurrency with and without concurrency speed, to compare how fast or slow it's happening. Now we'll focus on some practical use cases of the concept of concurrency in Laravel. So I asked ChatGPT, can you tell me what are some practical use cases for the concept of concurrency in Laravel? So what did it reply? It says that some practical use cases are, so number one is job queues and background processing. So Laravel's queue system allows you to process tasks asynchronously, improving application responsiveness. So you can send emails, generate reports, process uploaded files, send SMS. These are some use cases where job queues and background processing is used. So you can use concurrency here to process job queues and background processes as a sub-process inside the concurrency run method. The second option is database transaction and logs. So prevents rates conditions while multiple users update the same record simultaneously. So example is a wallet balance update in an e-commerce site using log for update or optimistic logging ensures that two users don't withdraw the same balance at the same time. So for database transactions and logs, this use case, concurrency can be used for livewire or real-time updates. So for livewire or web sockets, to enable real-time updates without refreshing the page. So without page reload, for real-time updates like notifications, chat applications, live dashboards, you can use concurrency. So rate limiting, number 4 is rate limiting and throttling. So it prevents API usage and ensures fair usage. So you can use, example is limiting login attempts to prevent brute force attacks using rate limiter attempt. So for rate limiting and throttling, Laravel's concurrency is used. For event broadcasting and web sockets, it is used for real-time stock market dashboard where prices update automatically for all users. So it can be also used for batch processing for large data sets, like when you are importing a large CSV file where each row is processed as a separate job. For multi-tenant applications like SaaS applications where each client has their own database or workspace, so handling different tenants or clients concurrently. Okay. So the number 8 is optimizing API requests. So you can use a Guzzle with concurrent requests to fetch from multiple APIs simultaneously. So fetching weather data from different providers in parallel. So these are some of the use cases, practical use cases where concurrency can be used. I hope by now you already have a firm grasp on the topic of concurrency in Laravel. So in the next video, I'll come up with another interesting topic, another interesting tip. So stay tuned for that.